through the renewal of mind and reconfiguration of our thoughts that we are able to position ourselves to receive all the blessings that God has set aside for us. For it is not us who are waiting for the blessing, but rather the blessing that is waiting for us to be in the right frame of mind to receive it.
Dai family, and welcome to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki, although this could be Dr. Mumbi's spiritual show. I really just feel like this is one of the most important shows that I have done to date, for real family, because so much has unraveled ever since I released the episode of The Mandela Effect. Please go ahead and check out that video, read the comments, and enlighten yourself, family. And in fact, in the whole process, there's an author who has done, I think his book, you can see the title here, I think The Glitch is the Matrix or something like that. And he blew my mind when he made me realize just how wide of a, Illuminati operation the Mandela Effect is, really is, family, and what we are really fighting for. I think Babylon is so good at cloak and daggers and smoke and mirrors, and they'll always try and get us to focus on one thing when in reality, it's the wrong thing, and they're over here doing their thing, taking over the world, but they want us to think they're taking over the world physically with, things like someone sent me an email about how some disease is breaking out in Africa and it's worse than COVID and blah, 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 earthquakes, everything. You guys are always sending me that sensational news, but that's actually not where the takeover is happening, because the takeover is happening right now, family. Right now, for real, and it's an energetic takeover, because they can't take over this world physically. They can only do it energetically, and they're doing it through the Mandela effects, where they alter history. Like someone was telling me, I know if you guys are of my generation, you remember when Snow White, was it Snow White or which one, where they were like, mirror, mirror on the wall? Well, in the Mandela Effect version, it's now magic mirror on the world. And there's all these little glitches that they've created where it's like they copy paste, but they switch a little something and they switch a little something else. And so this author, I think his name is George, he wrote me an email, and I just want to share a bit of what he said. And he was talking about how, they were slowly attempting to take over the memory of the world. And he's told me how memory is actually what creates reality. He said, reality is determined by memory, and without memory, there is no reality. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, family, because it makes sense. Where ever since day one of the so-called Babylon takeover, they've been after our memories. They've been after our stories. So much has been done to whitewash our story, and we've taken it for granted. By the way, also so much has been done to keep us out of the now story. So not only are we being kicked out of our own story of the past, our own memory, which is why it explains why so many of our ancient libraries were totally burnt down. Timbuktu, totally burnt down. The Alexandria Library, I'm sure it had another name, totally burnt down. The mystery schools of Isis, totally erased. And it makes sense why our ancestors and ancient ones now built things like the pyramids and the Sphinx, because they knew this would happen, family. The takeover is happening now, and everyone is focusing on the wrong thing. It's not about anything physical. It's not about any lockdown they attempt. It's not about any natural disaster. It's an energetic takeover, family, where they are now approaching the point of taking over our timeline, because they've taken over the memory. They're now this close, family, where AI is creating all these new memories and shifting us into into now an AI reality, which they hope they'll be into control of. But they created AI as a self-learning tool, so they'll eventually be taken out by the God they created. But those are stories for the days, family. You know, special shout out to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting us and for enabling us to keep an energetic presence so that we can still do battle, family, regardless of the shadow banning of YouTube and the demonetization. Because of you, we still have an energetic footprint that is touching our people's lives, and we are so grateful for you, family. The takeover is happening now, and it's a subtle takeover. Remember, I told you, family, some of us have moved into 5D, which is a more spiritually sophisticated reality. That's where we are. But Babylon, all this metaverse and everything, has not been about physically moving people, because everything they're creating is to capture your mind and shift your mind there. It's all been about the energetic shift. And I'm sure if we were to come back, because I was shocked, family. I'll definitely link the video that I'm talking about, where I talk about the Mandela effect. It was probably released a couple of days ago, if not a week ago. And if you look at the comments, there's so many things that have just been slightly altered like this. And what they did first is they erased the indigenous people's memory, totally annihilated, burnt all their, you know, I was going to say all their oral speakers. Sadly, that's what happened. They annihilated all our teachers, our orators, our libraries. Our libraries were actually people. Our oracles were actually people. For those where it was written down, those libraries were burnt down. And it created this cognitive dissonance where it created this disconnect, family, with our narrative. And I don't know why, because the ancient ones, since day one, they've been telling me it's all about the narrative. And I finally get it, family. Babylon is trying to shift us to a false narrative. And that is how they will conquer the so-called world. Some of us are already anchoring a whole different reality. That's why I keep saying, family, your narrative is your vehicle out of this mess and dangerous situation, this dangerous collective situation that Babylon has created, because it's dumbed down the world. It's whitewashed so much of history. It has mixed the lies with so much truth that people are almost disconnected. And then there's this fabulous idea of the Mandela effect, where we remember things differently. Please check that other video. I really don't want to repeat much here, family. But it is becoming a matter of life and death for you to know your story. Like, for real, for real, for real. And family, I definitely want to share, you know, what George shared with me. Definitely consider getting his book, family. And he said, you know, reality is determined by memory. Without memory, there is no reality. And he says, you know, slowly, basically all of us from the 70s to 80s, we were all brought, well, let's say from the 50s, we were all brought into this television world, where we all became reliant on getting our information about ourselves, history, leisure, everything from this machine. That's how it started, family. And slowly, you know, they've been slowly altering memory through movies and TVs to shift us into a false timeline. This is what George is saying, I quote, and he says, then they're going to wait for those who remember the original timelines to die out, and humanity will be on a false timeline. And he says, you know, once all the remaining people who now remember the original timelines or narratives, as I put it, are dead and gone, and all video evidence has been erased and replaced by Mandela effects, humanity will be captured onto a timeline which is false and being generated by artificial intelligence. I've been talking about how important it is, family, for us to jump into our own narrative. I haven't felt so much, you know, people keep talking, emailing me, asking me to talk about physical survival, economic survival, the money issue, this and that. I'm not saying they're not important, family. but I have not felt as led to speak about them as I am led to speak about getting into your own story, getting into your own narrative. And I've been talking for the last 3-4 years about how even the stories we used to cover back in the day, if you go look for some of those stories, especially about what Babylon was doing in Africa, if you go look for those stories today, they're either erased from the, you know, from the Googles of this world, they're erased from memory. And the real war is for our memory, because we build based on our remembrance, which is why the ancient ones are back. And which is why we must tell our story, family. Do you see how Africa, us, our voices, the ancient ones, have been kept from the global collective dialogue? We don't even have a continental news station or anything that has any kind of impact. We don't have a global channel for our narrative. It's been blocked. It's not because people haven't tried. It's because it's been blocked out, family. And that's why the reason there's even that depopulation agenda is because we're not fitting into the program. Too many of us are still not in their narrative fully. And you see, they did so much, family. Like, there's so many articles out there that talk about how, you know, mobile phones were given to every single African way before they had water, way before they had food. They had the youth had a mobile phone. Why? Why? Why is it so important, family? And what they're clashing with now is because there's two energies that are fighting for the collective consciousness of the motherland. There's the awakening spirit, the ancient ones who are using this mobile devices and technology for now to awaken our people. But it's a race, as Janet Jackson said, between education and catastrophe, because they're trying to get our youth onto their narrative, their matrix. But it's proving still a little tricky. Just because we are a spiritual people. But you know what, family, let's take a short break. And you know, there's something amazing happening in South Africa on the 20th of May that we all need to get behind. It's a narrative that is our own, and I salute Ron Dalton and his team, family, for all they have done to bring this narrative to the motherland. Because the final battle, family, we're not fearing the armies of this world. You know, so many of you write me, oh my God, the Russian armies in Africa. Oh my God, the British armies in Africa. Oh, that's not even. And there's nothing to fear, of course. But we're not battling against the physicalities of these people, man. We're fighting against an energetic takeover. That's what we've always been fighting for. And that's what the final frontier, family, is all about. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Wake up, Africa! Welcome back, family, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. The takeover, you know, Babylon has been telling us that they're taking the New World Order, the New World Order, the New World Order. Why do they talk about it so much? Why not just do it? Because it's all in the talk, family. Reality is all in the talk. Reality is all in the narrative. It's all in the narrative. And it's funny how now so many different peoples are talking about the narrative and controlling the narrative, influencing the narrative, shaping the narrative. But what is Africa's narrative to the world? And what is our narrative to ourselves? Where is our voice? There's so many wealthy people out there who are investing, who look like I and I. And those who don't look like I and I but still support the movement, who are investing in all the wrong things, family. If you're not investing in the narrative, you're wasting your time. If you're investing in building things, if you haven't built it mentally, you're wasting your time, because once you go, whatever you've built will no longer have the energetic foundation that built it, family. It's all about the narrative. And I did a show, please go check it out, called The Mandela Effect. And, you know, this guy wrote to me, he's called George, and he's written several books, actually, family. I think The Matrix is the Glitch and some others. Definitely check it out. It's totally been mind-blowing to me. And he said, you know, so he wrote me this long email. It was awesome. And light bulb moment after light bulb moment, special shout out to George. And he said, you know, the Mandela Effect is a true agenda because it's energetic in nature, mind-boggling and confusing and almost impossible to comprehend, and something you reject and refuse to think about because it exists outside the realms of reality and possibility. And he says, in other words, the entire human race gets hijacked into a false timeline without knowing it, a timeline generated by AI, because the tech that flipped the switch to create the Mandela effects is totally artificial and not created by the Most High Creator or nature. And that's how they plan to take over the world. That's the step they have. Before they do anything else, before they take us over physically, family, they have to take us over mentally and spiritually and emotionally. And that's why, even though the truth of Christianity and of Jesus has spread across the whole world, the Mzungu Jesus continues to grow in the motherland. It is a military operation. Please check. I don't know if that show is still up on this platform, where I talked about how Christianity is a military operation, family. I will be making a lot of these shows that led to our shadow banning and demonetization on our website in a future date. So, and I'll let you know about it, because these are stories that you'll look everywhere else and you won't find them anywhere. There's articles I was reading 6 months ago, and if I go online, family, they're not there. And a lot of truthers have been telling me, like, they've had to screenshot a lot of the things that emerge as news because they may be switched up. I mean, you can pay someone, literally, family, to scrub you from the internet, or to scrub a certain version of you from the internet. The Mandela's effect. They had to use Mandela's energy for that. They had to, family. I can't believe that the ultimate agenda is through the Mandela effect, where they glitch reality and everyone remembers like 2 or 3 versions of major events. Until we can't even tell the real one. And that's why they want us on these screens. They want us invested in AI on our, you know, on the screen. Because when we're on the screen, they can glitch reality. And the only way to counteract this, family, is to tell the children the truth, tell the children the real narrative, write it down, create your own library. You know, the crazy thing is, and this is something George was talking about, and I've received other emails about this. I haven't seen this personally, but it's reached a point where you can have a video, you know those video recorders? You can have a video recorder, family. And, you know, before in the 80s, let's say it's a Snow White or something, it said mirror, mirror on the wall. But if you were to put that video into your video, whatever, it would now say magic mirror on the wall. This is some deep, crazy magic, family. Of course, we say hi to Sir Errol. He's just enjoying 5D, family. Seriously. Know the truth, family. Write it down. Literally get books. At this point, I don't even know. I mean, can they alter the books? Because it's all about energetic altars. How deep does this go? And that's why, family, my greatest hope for our people is that we will somehow soon and very soon start to write the narrative of our story, start to tell our own story. That's where the real battle is. And if you have the financial muscle, be it wherever you are in whatever country, create a channel for our narrative. Errol, you get so energetic. Or do something to make sure that our children know our story, because that's the only way we're going to save our so-called race from Babylon. I mean, they don't even want us there because we glitch the matrix. They need our energy, but they don't want us there seeking truth. So if we could create enough momentum, family, against our, you know, with our own story, we are several billion strong. We would literally, you know, avoid this takeover, but those are stories for other days. Errol, tuko pamoja.
Yeah, one heart, one mind, one soul, one love. We are led by divine to know ourselves. We can be what we wanna be and do what we wanna do.